Who are you? And where are you going? What do you want?
Hello and welcome to People Making Money. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and we're here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time to talk about all those things related to starting a business, job hunting, professional success, and building wealth. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on intro because these guys know I've been really excited to get them on the show pretty much since I met them. I think we met about a year ago, I guess it was.
Yeah, about a year.
About a year, yeah. So this is the team at a business called Underground Studios. These are all young men. As an old guy with gray hair, hopefully I won't embarrass them by saying some of the finest young men. It's really been my pleasure to meet in the business world. For an old guy like me, I don't get to meet a lot of young guys anymore now that I'm out of the Navy. And for those of you who are regular viewers of the show, you know that I brag on my young service member colleagues pretty regularly. I will tell you that Andrew, Gavin, and Michael are as fine as any of the people that you will find in the military. They really are at the top of the game for being in business. So without any more ado, I really want you to hear their story, hear how they were able to build this business that they have. And so, gentlemen, if we can start out, maybe each of you will just take a few minutes to give a little bit about your background so people can see you are not all, trust fund babies and, mom and dad said, hey, okay, now that you're out of high school, here's $1 million, go build yourself a business. That is not their story. So I don't know, Andrew, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to. First off, thank you for that introduction. Maybe the best introduction we've ever had before. That was awesome. And once again, my name is Andrew Mason. I'm one of the 3 owners here with Gavin and Michael of, like you said, Underground Studios, which is a media, photo, video, creative space based in downtown Los Angeles. I am personally from Thousand Oaks, California. Shout out the 805, and that's also where I met Michael, who maybe you go into it, Michael. Maybe an introduction.
Definitely. Sorry, I'm literally just walking to my house. Sorry again for the runaround.
No problem.
Yeah, basically Andrew and I met briefly in high school in Newbury Park, and we didn't really know each other that much in high school. But, I was making music, he was doing journalism, and not to tell his story for him, but he, was doing more sports stuff at the time. And as he kind of lost interest in sports, connected with me, I had the music thing going already. And so that's where the magazine kind of created. And that's the root of why we even created the studio. So a lot of history, a lot to go into. Little bit of background on me. I've been an artist for over 10 years. I started off playing guitar and always kind of wanted to be a vocalist. Took me a long time to get comfortable doing that. And now I'm singing, rapping, performing, writing for artists myself, all of the, above. So.
Fantastic. Gavin, how did you meet these 2 guys then?
I actually met Andrew and Pofsky my first day that I moved to LA. The one person that I knew from my hometown of Medford, Oregon, small little town that I'm from, he's a recording engineer, and he was holding a camp for artists and engineers in Big Bear, California. And once COVID hit, I switched full time to doing videos. I used to be a manager over at a brewery before COVID, and then once COVID hit, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just take the full swing into this video thing. And so when I moved down to Los Angeles with my girlfriend, obviously I was trying to get new customers, make new friends, make new connections. And so the very first day, I wasn't even unpacked or anything. I took the car and I was like, sorry, babe, I got to go for 2 days. I'm going to go up here. And I went up there and actually shot my very first music video in LA with Pofsky. And we've just been locked in ever since. It's been a great journey with these two guys.
Yeah, it was really cool, honestly. With Gavin, like he said, we met at this like big camp with other artists and a bunch of other people. And like, no shade to anybody there. Everybody there is cool doing their thing, but we kind of felt, me and Pofsky, like we didn't really fit in great with anybody, and or felt like people were maybe a little egotistical, which happens a lot in a hip hop or just entertainment world. But
Mhm.
Gavin came the second day. I don't think you were there the first day, Gavin, but you showed up the second day, and we just immediately clicked. And now a couple years after that, we ended up starting the Underground Studios, and now a couple years after that, here we are, Gavin, one of our most solid connects, our partner.
And now, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you actually were publishing a magazine before you opened the studio. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
correct. Technically, Underground Magazine was created in January 2020. That's when the first mag came out. And then just kind of through doing that, me and Michael constantly needing to book different photo studios and just kind of needing to do that all the time, needing a headquarters, that was really honestly Michael who really kind of like spurred that move to, we need to get a spot like once we have a spot that's going to really tie things together. And so at the time, even I actually wasn't really trying to open the spot and have kind of the whole two businesses going. I was really trying to just do the magazine.
Mhm.
And so he went to Gavin, Michael went to Gavin, and they really kind of created it. And then a couple years later, I came on as an owner.
Got it. And so, sticking with kind of the predecessor here for just a minute, what was the impetus for deciding to start a magazine, even in 2020? And maybe I'm wrong. I'm not super up to speed on the media business, and especially the print media business. But it seemed to me that even by 2020, magazines were pretty much a dying, breed. Was this a print magazine, an online magazine? How did all that work? It sounds like that's kind of the launching pad for what then became Underground Studios. Can you take us through that so people can understand your thinking and your process a little bit? Any of you guys, not just for for Andrew. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think
say,
Andrew could speak to
yeah.
it more because he kind of started the magazine, and then I guess I could kind of take it from there.
okay,
Yeah, like
sure.
really, like I guess the root of it, like I grew up in California, but went to college in Boston, went to Boston University. Go Terriers! If anyone watching, shout out BU. And I studied journalism, but like Michael said earlier, I was sports journalism. That was my major. And like
Mhm.
kind of, as I was doing it, I realized the biggest thing that I didn't like about it was that the athletes, the people that you're taking this time to write about, to whatever, they didn't really care about the coverage. Athletes don't really need the coverage a lot of times. So, and so you kind of get that mood, you get that energy from them. And then after graduating and coming back, re-meeting up with Michael, I saw that like, wow, artists and people like who need coverage, they really appreciate the journalism, appreciate the work, they appreciate the coverage. And so I think kind of that general like connection there kind of spurred me to decide to go more in the music lane. And then exactly like you said, print media outdated, it's been outdated, it's digital. And so kind of just looking and kind of surveying the playing field, I realized it's definitely all digital, but maybe it's so digital now that a hard copy magazine is unique and it's retro. And Underground has always thrived on, we've never printed thousands and thousands of magazines when we have a new mag. We always print somewhere between 200 to 500 mags. So it's a collectible thing, it's more of a hard copy. So we are running a magazine and bringing that magazine back, but we're also approaching it with a new like modern business structure.
Interesting. So what it sounds like is you shifted from a market where, athletes who really, there wasn't really any demand to a focus where you really could be of service to the people that you were profiling in your magazine on the one hand, and yet, also, like you say, taking advantage of some trends, retro and all of that, in order to do something that sets you apart from what everybody else was doing. I mean, that's very, very, very clever way to approach it. Yeah. So now you've got the magazine going, and talk to us, if you would. How did the idea for a studio, to open a studio, how did that come about? And again, what was the impetus for that?
Yeah, so that really, like Andrew was kind of touching on, started a couple years into the magazine. And just to kind of follow up on what he was saying, the way that obviously it's a cool idea to make a magazine and do something fun, right? But doing something cool and fun is a lot different than having a business and being profitable and creating longevity, right? So what we realized early on was, we could charge to be in our magazine, but have different things that we provide, not just charge to be on the cover and not talk to these guys again. We're putting in a lot of hours with all of these cover artists. And it took years.
Oop.
Sorry, someone's giving me a call. And it's just a lot to kind of figure out at first. But one of our biggest obstacles was the studio aspect, right? And we were doing photo shoots and renting photo studios for thousands of dollars each time.
Oh.
And, it just became clear to me that we could. Sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little laggy, like in terms of the video with the audio, but we can still hear you and see you clearly.
Oh, my thing froze up.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Sorry, guys, my thing froze. I need to.
Sure.
I'll keep it going.
Yeah,
but,
Gavin.
they were, I've worked with Underground Magazine since issue 1 or 2, right, Andrew?
Since issue 1 was out before even at issue 2.
Right. And, we've been working together for years. And now at this point, I'm kind of the head media person for the magazine. And we're, working with all these different artists and stuff. But yeah, they would rent out a studio for a whole day and it would end up costing them thousands of dollars. And so I think at a certain point, it just logistically, it made sense to not only save this money in the magazine, but then have another potential revenue stream and combine them both together. And at one point, I actually owned a studio before I teamed up with Pofsky and Andrew, and it was like 1/10 of the scale that we have now. And I actually closed it because it ended up being too much work for just one person to run. I was there 5-6 days a week. And so when Pofsky approached me with the idea of being partners, it really stood out to me just because it really does take a team to run a business on this level and this scale, when we all have different roles that kind of intertwine and mesh together. And I think that's a part of why we're finding our own success because, Andrew is working in certain areas and doing web development, and then I'm over here doing videos and photos and Pofsky's helping the artists with their artist development and showing them, okay, if you're releasing a song, you need to have what's called a DJ pack. You need to have this and get playlists. And so all of us really have expertise in different areas, and I think that's why we mesh so well together.
Interesting. And this is not an area that I know really anything about. So just for people like me, what is a DJ pack?
So I just learned this the other day. Pofsky was telling me.
Yeah, me too.
But a DJ pack is like, say you're an artist and you make a song. You have that full, complete song. What you would do in a DJ pack is you have the song, you have the clean version, just the instrumental, and then an extended intro. And so it's almost like a 4 or 5 parts of the song. That way you can send a DJ all those different parts and they can do DJ things to it. You know how DJs have the intro and do their own shout outs and their own names. And so it really just gives people the flexibility to change your song on the fly. And that helps with getting your music out there because it's making it more accessible to people that want to share it, right?
Gotcha. In my day, right, the thing was to get radio play. You
Yeah.
produce a song, right? You want to get it on the radio because then you'll sell records. And at the time we're talking, 40 vinyl 45s, or maybe, a vinyl album, 33 and a third RPM, right? And then eventually, of course, it went to CDs and but nowadays it's not like that, right? So, I mean, when you're working with your clients, well, I mean, there has been a resurgence in vinyl, but I don't imagine. Well, let me ask you the question: how many of your clients are, really looking to, record an album and, press vinyl and get it out there, as opposed to, what is otherwise what is sort of the the process that you guys at Underground Studio are helping them work that will lead them to success?
Got you, got you. So, okay, so in terms of like actually getting hard copy vinyls, right? I like that. I don't see that doesn't happen much anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's more
Really
of a
now.
targeted, limited release. If an artist is going to do that, they probably drop it with a piece of merch, a t-shirt or something, and then try and sell it as part of a package. But you have to be at a certain level as an artist to make it profitable, right? But I always tell artists, if you're trying to make a project, sell a t-shirt with that project. You can make the t-shirt for $12.50, sell it for $25, make 50 copies, and then there's going to be 50 people out there who want to support you, and that helps pay for the album. So
Oh,
as an artist, it is harder to find ways to monetize, and people just want other people to listen to their music, right? But I always try to explain to artists that, like, this is also a business, and you can run it as a business without taking advantage of people, still provide excess value, and that's going to just bring you more longevity and more hardcore fans.
Yeah. And also, Kevin, my bad, but Michael, he just texted me and saying, "Can you ask Kevin to add me back
oh,
in? It
sorry.
says I'm on stage."
I was so focused on you guys. Sorry, I
No,
was so
you
focused on what they
Thank
were
you.
saying. I forgot I needed to let you back in. Yeah,
Sorry, I was on my phone and someone called me, so it messed it up. But I'm on my
yeah, no
computer,
problem.
so it should be all good now.
So I was just asking Andrew and Gavin, what is the path that you guys at Underground Studios take your clients on to, for them to achieve success on, however that's defined, and however, within the, the limits of what's available. I mean, uh, and this is, like I say, I know how the music business worked, 40, 50 years ago, right?
Right.
You recorded a song, like I was saying to them, you get it on the radio, you sell albums, you go on a tour, right? And the
Right.
tour and albums are really where, where you make your money, right? And then hopefully you parlay that into a movie career, and you clean up. I'm thinking of someone like, Madonna, right? That was
Yeah.
her road to success. And record companies operated on the theory of, we're going to record, 100 albums, 90 of them, we're going to lose every penny we invested. Eight
Right.
of them, we're going to maybe make back what we invested. And 2 are going to do so well, they're going to compensate for the other
Right.
98, right? That
yeah.
went nowhere or just barely broke even, right? That,
Totally.
it seems to me, that model doesn't work in the media business anymore. And by the way, to a certain extent, that's how it worked in the video business as well, which was something that my longtime producing partner Rick and I were involved with for many years. So, Andrew and Gavin were talking about, how you guys help the artists and clients that you work with gain success, as I guess as they define that. So
Yeah. So, music being kind of my expertise, right? I think a lost art in the music industry is what's called artist development. And that's something that used to happen a lot more traditionally in like good record labels, right? You'd find an artist who has no experience, and when they go to a radio station, they don't necessarily know how to maneuver those type of things or
how to, you know, just brand themselves, how to dress, all these different things, right?
Right.
What's cool about Underground is we really like take the time to assess each client and kind of see what they need and help develop them. And obviously, again, like I was kind of touching on before I cut out, we are very service based, and so we work with these different people and like find what services and best things fit each person, and help develop them, right? And then that's kind of step one, which,
Mhm.
like I said, is kind of a lost art now, because most of, whether it's just music or entertainment in general, is kind of just based around things going viral, or, you know, just being extremely popular for that moment, all the hype that comes around things, and then it dies out very quickly.
Mhm.
With things like TikTok and YouTube and stuff, whatever. Um, but yeah, like Gavin was kind of saying, you can get really creative by bundling stuff with merchandise, or even something cool that we did was a custom magazine for an artist. And not only did they put their album kind of bundled with the magazine, but they put exclusive music you could only hear by scanning the QR code in the magazine. That was an idea I brought to them.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, that's a incentive now for, like you were saying, what's a physical magazine, what's the incentive to buy that now when everything's digital?
Mhm.
Like Andrew said, I think that in 2025, retro is really cool and popular, whether it's
Mhm.
clothing, sneakers, music, whatever. So the magazine really hits well in that. Um, but yeah, you know,
Yeah,
just getting creative with these guys.
for real. And it's really, it is like Michael said, just all about finding what the artist needs. You know, if some artists will work with us and they're funny, and so we can play into like that funny side of them and make skits with them and really like elevate their social media content to really show that funny side of them, all the way to where some artists, they just need to develop the music making. So we got our recording studio, we have our engineers, and they're just locked in working on the actual craft, you know. So we have, thanks to our compound, we have all the different assets, and we really can cover a lot. Really, we're here for whatever the artist needs.
Right,
So it's
right.
it's interesting because Michael, you mentioned the sort of demise. They used to be called A&R, right? Artists and repertoire people, right? And
Yeah,
on all the major record companies and even the smaller reputable ones, they all had A&R guys who
right.
helped develop a particular performer, not just in their music, but in their appearance, how they do, you know, various appearances, whether it's
Yeah.
radio or supermarket, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you know, until you said it, never occurred to me that who's doing that nowadays, that sort of artist management function.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, I don't think it really exists anymore. So you guys bring that to the table as well.
Yeah, I mean, and we all, there's different levels of doing that, right? Like an A&R could be somebody who just connects somebody for one song and you work with them one time, and that could be that. Or for example, we're about to start managing an artist, and that when you manage the artist, you know, you're doing everything for them. You're A&Ring, you're helping develop them, right? And I think also, to speak to one of your other points, like traditionally musicians, definitely the movie star kind of thing after the music career is a great way to keep that going. The most common thing you're seeing now that even people are doing simultaneously is podcasting or live streaming, was really popular right now. And so
Uh-huh.
there's a guy named AD, who's a pretty big rapper from LA, but
Mhm.
he is almost more popular now as a podcaster slash live streamer, but he still makes music. And so again, just like me, you know, people know me. I would almost say more people know me for Underground, whether that's the magazine or the studio, because we built it intentionally to be that umbrella.
Mhm.
But then the music, people know me for both, just all works, and people know me as this music business guy, and that plays well into my brand.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it's just really about understanding that and kind of what you're going for nowadays. And there's no box, you know, you can be a podcaster and a rapper at the same time nowadays, and people accept that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. It's funny because I was just going to ask you, are you guys thinking about getting into talent management? Because that would seem to be essentially what you're doing already, right?
Right.
But to do it on a more formalized basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we can help them in all these different aspects. Like you were saying, like Andrew said, you know, we have the recording studio, we have the content. Also, recently, you know, Gavin not only is our partner at the studio, but he's really became our head of media for the magazine as well. So it's just cohesively working really well with whether they're clients or artists that we want to manage. There's a big difference between signing an artist to a record label deal, like a recording deal, versus a management deal. And for us as a company, what that means is just getting our capital up, because when you sign an artist, it's just about being the bank, really. And like you were saying, taking risks and having it be a numbers game and all that. And, most people too nowadays, the record label word is very taboo. Most people don't
It
want to
is,
be in a record label nowadays.
especially in rap.
Yeah, especially in rap. So there's this whole stigma that people just want to be independent. But I think the other side of that coin is people have no idea what it takes to be independent, whether that's as a business or as a artist. It's a lot of money, like time, failure.
Well, and there's independent and there's independent, right? Because there's always been independent record labels, but oftentimes the independence extends to, what they record, but the distribution is still being, channeled through one of the major record companies, right? That's how it worked for guys like Frank Sinatra. And, he started his own, Reprise was his own record label, right? But I think Reprise was distributed through Capitol Records, which was his longtime record company before he started his own, his independent record company, right? So there's all kinds of ways that these deals happen. And is it creative independence that they want? Is it literal independence, right? I think those are all different things. So
I think
so
most
are
people
you
are
guys
learning creative independence nowadays?
Yeah.
People don't want to be told what to do or not to do or stuff like that.
Yeah. So are you guys contemplating starting a record label, or?
We've kicked it around, and that was kind of the conversation when we were looking at whether to do a label versus management. And pretty much the difference is, if you have a record label, like I was saying, you're really the bank and you're really just responsible for everything related to
Yeah,
this
all
artist.
financials.
Yeah, like absolutely everything. And then all the money that comes in goes through you. And it's very much like a real like partnership, even more than a partnership. You're really becoming like an investor in this person. So again, like we're just not really at that point yet. And just financially or just kind of in our notoriety, I think as we grow, whether that could be me growing as an artist, that could help the brand get more notoriety, or the brand growing, or vice versa. So yeah, I think, and we've already kind of briefly started it by putting out music as the collective and, doing different things. Um, somebody told me really something interesting the other day when I was picking their brain about whether we do management versus a label. And he said to me, because especially we're such a company of services and we got the studio and the mag, we want to work with the labels. We want Capitol or Warner to come to us and say, I want to book your spot out for a week, or, book your whole magazine or whatever. Right. Somebody said to me, when you're a label and you brand yourself as that, it kind of makes the labels not want to work with you.
Yeah,
because
that makes
it's
sense.
competition. But if you're management, it's cohesive.
It's more seamless.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So not to say that I wouldn't start one. If I had $1 million sitting in an account right now, I probably would start one. Because yes, everybody wants to be independent, but a lot would change when you put 6 figures in front of someone and a real opportunity.
Right. Absolutely. So I've always thought of Underground Studios as kind of being the Airbnb of the media studio business. So if you would take us through, how the studio works, kind of in its guts, if you will. Someone wants to do a video or an audio project. How do they find you? How do you get set up with them? How does it work in terms of them coming to your studio? Give us a flavor of that, if you would.
Yeah,
Totally.
Gavin,
Go ahead, Andrew.
All right. I was just gonna say, what's cool about Underground is, we've been talking a lot about like the business side and kind of the X's and O's of what we do behind the scenes, but really the studio space, we have right in downtown LA. We got 20 plus different sets of all these different kind of cool things that you can do: photos, music videos, all these things, content, whatever. And so we got one room is a casino, one room is like a 90s bedroom. That's like probably the most popular one. We have one room that's just a big orange furry room with all these weird furry orange things. And like, so basically, we have it all available online, really, is how people book it, right? Through undergroundmag.com. That's where we have everything, all different sets that you can book and see, and just see pricing and all that. Gavin, do you want to
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So we have undergroundmag.com, and that probably accounts now is approaching 40 to 50% of our business, which we're really trying to push because it's more independent for us, and the only fee is the credit card fee, right? And we're also on other platforms, like you said, Kevin, similar to Airbnb. There's platforms called Pure Space and called Gigster. There's even one called Spacer, and that's basically Airbnb but by the hour, right? So our spaces start at $75 an hour, and it's a 2-hour minimum plus a $50 cleaning fee. So it's basically $200 flat, and you can get in for 2 hours. Usually with brand new customers, especially to incentivize them booking through our website, we offer an hour free, because Pure Space and Gigster, similar to Airbnb, they do the advertising for you, so they're still finding us clients, but then they take fees 15% from us, and then also add 15% on the customer's end.
Oh, wow.
So it's a total of 30% extra for the customer, or in total, that they're getting on each transaction, which, don't get me wrong, they do get a lot of business for us, and it's free advertising, so their fee is definitely justified, and they provide insurance. But we're trying to kind of migrate some of our business, especially with people that we know personally, now that we've developed all these relationships. If somebody hits us up that we know, we just say, hey, go book through the website. It's a lot easier. That way it's a win-win. We're making a tiny bit more money, but they're saving a tiny bit more money too. But there is all these different aspects. We have advertising on Instagram, and people hit us up on there to book. So we try and have multiple different streams of income that can all add up. That way we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket,
And
Yeah.
how many individual, I guess they're not called booths, but individual sets or studios within your overall studio? How many do you have now?
I
I
believe
should
there's
know this,
20.
because I'm related to the company that manages the building, but I don't.
We have about 15 to 20 looks, sets, however you would call it. Even some of the areas that are not made for like shooting, particularly, people utilize, like our changing room, for example. Sometimes when it's appropriate, people may use some of the hallways or outside in the parking lots and stuff. So it's a lot of just opportunity, even for small events, as we've done before. And yeah, I mean, it's really great. And we do have 3 different rooms. So one of them is just one kind of set, which is like our club set, very popular for parties and stuff. And then our other 2 rooms are like multi-set, what you would call them. So you rent those rooms and you get access to like 7 plus sets, versus the club, you really just get the one look. So sometimes people book multiple rooms at a time, or we've had people book the whole place, for days, stuff like that.
Yeah, like
And
right now, sorry, Andrew.
yeah,
Right now we have a whole film crew in there, and they are shooting on these really expensive cameras. They have an audio guy, a lighting guy, like a 20-person crew today, and they're filming it all for vertical, and it's for a
Yeah.
vertical platform. And so it's interesting to see how the market is shifting to more dominant vertical content. Sometimes we have people
Yeah.
come in and they just film with their iPhones. So with all of our sets, we try and make it not only as customizable as possible. We have these LED lights that you can control either by button or with an iPad, that you can control to any different color that you want. So we have our casino, our armory, mirror box, LED hallway. Like Andrew was saying, we have an orange carpet room, pink carpet room, 90s bedroom. And when you book these multi-set spaces, it really, with what we were talking about with the 2-hour minimum, if somebody comes in for 2 hours, they're really only going to use 2 or 3 of those spaces. And that's why we really love the multi-set, because it is not only longevity for us, but it also helps with client retention. You know, sometimes somebody will come use the casino, but then they'll come back another time and they need to use the mirror box or the armory. And so that really helps us with getting multiple people in there multiple times. But yeah, overall, you know, I would agree. I think we have 16 sets now, and we have you know, we're adding a few more here and there, but it's really fun to be able to explore different options within the same room, but you can have 10 different looks.
Right.
Yeah.
And how does it work in terms of video or audio equipment? Do people bring in? They have to bring in their own equipment, their own lights, and all that, or do you guys have that available as well? How
Yeah.
does that aspect of it work?
They bring it all. You know, that would be like the next level of growing the company, would be like creating the rental side of that, which again would just take
Mhm.
capital to buy a bunch of lights and cameras. And something that's really important to have for the next level is we have what's called a psych wall, which is like a corner wall, all white, kind of rounded. It looks like an infinity wall, really.
Mhm.
Great for photo shoots, products, stuff like that. And something popular that they do at the big studios, they have like a grid, I think it's called, right, Gavin, on the
Mhm.
ceiling where the lights kind of, they may even just be there already when you come
Mhm.
in, or you can put your lights on there, or you can rent them. So to answer your question, right now we're just in the rental space of the spaces, but then when we
Mhm.
get into more capital, I would love to see us get more gear. I'm sure Gavin would love to have a bunch of gear that he could utilize in our company for his own stuff and for our own
Right.
stuff too, you know.
Mhm. And so I take it they'll rent the studio space from you. They bring in their equipment. They do their audio and or video recording. So then now they've got their raw material, right?
Right.
Now it has to be edited down. Maybe some alternative tracks need to be laid in. Um, uh, do you guys work with that as well? Or do you have relationships with editing studios? How does that part of a project work for for someone who's working with you guys?
Yeah, so
Yes.
people will rent the space to do stuff, right? If someone's coming through like Peerspace, Gigster, or website, that's typically just them coming in to rent it, and they're totally responsible for whatever they want to do, you know?
Mhm.
Now, there's the other side of it where we are kind of saying, oh, Gavin's like our head of media. This is me and Andrew putting together packages typically for past magazine clients that will take advantage of different things that we offer, like recording studio time, content, whether that's photo or video. And they're hiring us to essentially come use our space. We'll produce the content for them. We'll even promote it through our platforms. Um, and so that's where Gavin really heavily comes in. Um, and not only being a super big help just with the studio running it together, but also, for example, this Saturday, Andrew and I won't be at the studio, but Gavin can be there working with the client. He's going to film something for them. He's going to edit it, get it to us. We're going to promote it, post it, put these people in the magazine as well. So there's a level of it where people can come to us and it could be full service. They don't have to do anything, but that would need to be discussed and stuff like that. Sometimes people come through and then we make those agreements once they're there and we just meet them, you know.
Mhm.
We've built it to kind of at any moment just create these different opportunities and points of sales. And like even for Gavin to be in there, it might be a client that we brought to him, but he can upsell them on a music video that he could do for them now, or we can upsell them on the magazine or recording or promo or performing or just all these different things.
Mhm. Gotcha. Did you, Andrew? Do you had something you wanted to add, or?
Or I was actually just curious, in your filmmaking, Kevin, have you ever done anything like a Peerspace or a Gigster? Have you like booked sets like that digitally?
No, I mean I've been out of that realm for a long time. I think I made well, let's see, we made our last feature film in 1989. So
Oh,
Okay, okay.
and it was a direct to video feature. My producing partner Rick Carter, uh, big horror movie fan.
mm,
Me, not so much, but I was always more on the business side, and Rick was on the creative side. So it was my job to support him and his creative vision, basically. So in 1987, Rick called me up and he said, I need your help. I want to make a short film called Horror Brunch. And if you go on YouTube and look up Horror Brunch, you will find it. And you'll also find these two guys who talk about movies. They did a thing where they showed the movie and they talked about it. That was something that happened just maybe a year or two ago. And this Horror Brunch movie was incredibly successful. We won several horror film awards for it. It was shown in college campuses all over the country.
Wow.
In a time when you really didn't make money off of short films, we actually did. I mean, it didn't cost us that much, but we actually made money off it. And so then after that, we were casting around for an idea for a feature film. And we, Rick came up with several, and we couldn't get any traction because we were trying to get financing. And finally, we were sitting around, us with a couple of our friends, and I said, "Look, we got to put our best foot forward. We got to turn Horror Brunch into a full-length, a feature film, right?" And so basically, it became a spoof of the Big Chill. And we rented this dilapidated house over in what is now West Adams. And over a 2-week period, we brought in, crew and cast and, generators on, and we shot the footage for this film. And we had a distribution deal for it, but this is how, the business worked back then. So there was a guy, I don't remember his name, but he had a company called Vista Media. He did direct to video sales basically, and he loved horror films, and he loved our film, but there was no nudity in it because Rick and I we just didn't believe in sort of gratuitous nudity, right? So he says to us, "I'll distribute your film, but you got to put a couple of nude scenes in it."
Wow.
Right, this is the kind of stuff that went on, right? And so I remember getting a call. It was like a Sunday morning. I'm at my new girlfriend's house, and Rick is telling me, "You got to find some woman to be a body double because we got to put nude scenes." And he said, "And by the way, you need to shoot the scenes because the actor who would have shot the scenes, he's on another gig." And I'm like, "Okay, there is no way I'm going to agree to shoot scenes with a body double while I'm at my girlfriend's house."
Right.
So long story short, we got it all arranged. He actually put up the money for us to do it. We cut these scenes in, and it was so ridiculous because the body double did not at all look like the actress who had played the role, right? But didn't care. He sends the movie out for distribution. First market that's interested is, of all places, Poland. This is like 1990, right? Poland is interested, but they have one catch: can't have nudity.
So you had to take it out.
So then we had to take it out. I mean, it was just this was the movie business back then, and it was around that time I kind of went, I think I'm going to focus on the real estate. This is just, this is, and I eventually married that woman, right? And so, I think it was a good thing that I exited. So, between then and 2020, I didn't do any media projects. And then in 2020, as a result of COVID, I was talking with my friend Rick, and as you guys probably know, a lot of people in your business, they had no work because the media business was shut down. And so I came up with an idea to do a talk show called The Way to Wow Show. And we converted my living room into a TV studio once a month. And we shot anywhere from 4 to 7, 8 episodes that then we released over the succeeding month. And we brought in a bartender for each segment, and the bartenders would, create a cocktail themed to the discussion. And
that's cool.
So that was the first 2 seasons of the show was that. And then because of some personal things, I had to shut that down, and then I reinvented the show as you see it now. So this show is actually an extension of that original show. This is the 6th year of that show. So
that's real
awesome.
Cool.
And like you guys, I mean, not honestly, not nearly as successful as you guys. But you know, you have to sort of weave your way through to find what works, right? That's
No
the
doubt.
basic skill in business, right? And I talk to people all the time who want to, you know, start a business. When I said, and like, what do I need to do to start a business? I say, be flexible. They're like, but if I can come up with a great idea, I'm like, yeah, you know, there's a million great ideas out there, literally at least a million. But
Yeah.
and this is what I think is so amazing about your story is I don't mean to be offensive, but I mean, you didn't really have a great idea. You have something that you really want to do, and you just said, okay, we're going to figure out how to do it. And in my
Right.
experience, there's far more successful businesses that come about because of that than there are because someone had a genius idea and they were lucky enough that the genius idea worked.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
Totally.
it's not an uncommon thing to have a magazine or be in media or do music, right? I mean, it's the most competitive thing possible.
Right.
Um, but I think it's really interesting. You look at where Andrew started, you look at where Gavin started, you look at where I started. We all, 10 years ago had nothing to do with each other. And we
Mhm.
all had visions of probably how we wanted our life to go and stuff and didn't know that we were going to do this at all. Um, but it's really interesting because we probably wouldn't have been able to do what we're doing now had we not all just been doing that leading up to it. And, this is kind of random, but like now that I'm starting to learn more just about real estate and looking at just bigger money and businesses and all this stuff, you look at these skyscrapers in downtown LA, it's not one person that owns it because they get expensive or because they get wealthy. It's multiple giant companies coming together, years of planning and time. And this is that on a small level.
Mhm.
People look at underground studios and probably think, oh my God, how could this happen? I remember before we got our studio, we used to use this one studio called 408 Studios all the time. And I was talking to the guy who owned that when we wanted to do this. And I was like, should we get our own? Like, is it good? Does it make money? And one person's answer is just irrelevant to ours because anybody can use Peerspace and Gigster and that kind of stuff, but
Mhm.
nobody has what Gavin has, what I have, what Andrew has in a cohesion like we do. Um, and that's why it works so well, really. And so that's why I'm confident it'll get to the next steps. And, we're all pretty level-headed guys. We're all, we want to grow and take those risks, but we're not going to just do something ridiculous that could totally be detrimental to everything we've built so far.
Right.
So I feel really good about it. And, I'd be lying to tell you if it was all perfect, been a lot of ups and downs, and we've all gone through a lot together growing. And that's, if it was all perfect, it would be something would go wrong sooner than later, so.
Well, yeah, it probably would mean that you're not taking a realistic look at what's going on, and there's all kinds of problems festering under the surface that you're just not confronting. And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of business owners do as well. They just brush all that stuff under the rug, and then all of a sudden their business falls apart, and they're like, how could this have happened? Everything was going so well, right?
Right.
I mean, one of the things that strikes me, and I've gotten to know the three of you much better than before this interview, is how well matched your abilities are, for how complementary they are, and yet and there there's like no ego
Mhm.
between the three of you, which is also, I think, pretty rare in the media business. So the only thing I've seen like this is I was at the the Milk and Global conference. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I went to a session. Snoop Dogg, I'd never heard him speak before. I was just curious, and he was there with this young guy who started, I think it was a record label that Snoop Dogg had financed, but it was more like almost like a management company. It embedded a record label as well. And you would have thought that as famous as Snoop Dogg was, that he'd be out there going, "It's all about me. I'm the guy. you know, if this is success, and quite to the contrary, the two
Right.
of them almost were trying to outdo each other in humility. And it was very, very impressive to watch, because I think that is really the heart of what makes a good business partnership.
Definitely.
And that's cool that you pointed that out, because I think that's what also makes underground really like approachable and appealing to artists, because like, you know, there's in this world of up and coming artists, especially in the hip hop LA scene, there's a lot of just like companies that you can go to that I think the people there are just maybe kind of rude, or it's a kind of, it's not as friendly of an environment, or like you use the word like I think other places maybe it's more of an egotistical side of things and approach to things. And with us, it's like you come to us and you're gonna talk and meet with all three of us, and we really treat somebody we work with who has 100 followers on Instagram the same as the people we work with that have hundreds of thousands of followers, you know. And so I think that's a thing that has made underground studios very appealing to in this LA world.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And I think that the word of mouth spreads really positively for us, because whether or not an artist ends up booking a magazine or a content package or booking the photo or the video studio, you know, we're not opposed to giving them knowledge. Like, that's what's so positive about our areas of expertise is somebody can come to Pofsky, like I was saying earlier about the DJ pack. When you were gone, I was telling them what a DJ pack is, you know, and he has that knowledge of how to actually be an artist and an in-depth process. How am I going to get my music on Apple Music, on Spotify? And then they can come to me and ask, how am I going to do this for my vertical content? How am I going to get the music video? And so we have all these resources available. We're kind of like a tool shed together. An artist can come and record their song at our recording studio and then shoot their music video at our photo studio, you know, and it's kind of an all-in-one shop. And it's such a collaborative process. I think artists find a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we lost Andrew. So I'm tempted to try something with you guys that I've never done before. Stealing from one of my favorite podcasters. I don't know if you've ever heard of a woman by the name of Barry Weiss. She does a podcast called Honestly, and Barry, you know, as she's kind of wrapping up a podcast, she'll ask the person, "Okay, are you willing to do a lightning round?" And the lightning round is really just a series of very quick questions, and the answers are supposed to be kind of 1 or 2 word answers, and it's designed to give the viewers a little bit of insight into who you are as people, not just as businessmen. So are you willing to do this experiment with me?
Absolutely.
Heck
All
yeah.
right.
Good.
Okay. So, we'll, if why don't we just, I'll pose a question. If we'll just go kind of Andrew, Michael, Gavin, will kind of, at least from my perspective, that'll take us around in a circle. Okay. So, okay. So here we go. Current favorite artist.
Ooh. And we just answer in 2 words, right?
Yeah. 2 or 3 words. Yeah.
Travis Scott.
Michael?
I'll give you a couple. I'm into R&B right now. Chris Brown, Usher, Jacquees.
Okay.
Jacquees, that's a good choice. I was just editing his tour documentary last night. My favorite artist right now, and he's been my favorite artist for like 3 years now, I gotta say Pop Smoke.
Okay.
Oh,
R.I.P.
wow.
I'm sorry. Say again. It was garbled.
Oh, sorry. I was saying my bad. Michael said Jacquees was one of his favorite artists, and I just was looking at his footage last night because I'm a part of a documentary that he's working on about his tour a couple years ago. But my favorite artist would be the late Pop Smoke is his name.
Okay.
So he's no longer with us, but he made great music.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Next, what is your most important core value?
Loyalty.
That would definitely be one of mine as well. I would say respect, very important.
Totally. I agree with both those. I'd have to go with honesty and integrity.
Yeah. Those are the ones.
Yeah. All good. Um, if where do you think your business? Let me make this so it can be a short answer. What do you think should be the next aspect of Underground Studios that gets added, on top of what Underground Studios is already about?
There's so many, but I guess one of them I would say is an employee at some point. We don't have any employees, so an employee would be great.
Okay.
Andrew's tired of driving downtown. I'm just kidding. I am too, but we love it still. But I would say a two-part answer as well. Getting more units or just another unit maybe this year, right? We have 4 units technically in the building right now. I'd love to see us get a 5th by the end of 2025. We hope to hit $15,000 to $20,000 months this summer in our high peak. So that's the goal.
Oh, wow.
And then I would say, we're all, Gavin, are you 28?
Just turned 29 in February.
29. Okay.
Dang.
So Gavin's a little bit older than Andrew and I, but I would say in the next 3 to 5 years max, I'd like to see us own a building as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gavin?
absolutely. I agree with all those. I'd love to just see the studio have a manager and be self-sustaining, and have us be expanding in different areas, whether that's real estate or videos. But I would love to see Underground as a brand get to that 10, 20,000 mark on Instagram and Facebook, on social media. I just love to see us blow up, and not necessarily that that's my number one answer, but I wanted to differentiate you guys' answers, and I think that that's something I definitely want to see for the business. And we don't have the biggest audience right now, but what we do have is a lot of artist loyalty, and everybody really, is positive and accepting of the vibe that we're putting out. And, people are really supportive of everything that we do. So I'm very thankful for the audience that we've grown so far.
Fantastic. Okay, last one. Assuming that Andrew's wish comes true and you get an employee, so you're not chained to the studio 7 days a week.
Right.
Where would you like to go on vacation once you have that employee?
I would say Tokyo, Japan, my number one destination spot.
Oh man, that's a good one. Me and my girlfriend really want to go there. I want to do something crazy. Like, I'm going to Hawaii this summer, which will be cool, but I want to go to like the Bahamas or something just really cool like that,
Totally. I'm saving up right now for a vacation to St. Thomas. It's in the Virgin Islands. You
Nice.
don't technically need a passport to visit because it's a U.S. territory. So I want to take my girl there eventually for sure. It's beautiful.
I could see in like 20 years, Gavin, you just having a nice little like villa hut in St. Thomas. We'll come visit you like once a year.
I love it.
Content there.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, well, if you have that in 20 years, yeah, I'll be your caretaker because I'll be a really old guy then, and that's probably about all I'll be able to do.
You're always welcome.
Well, you guys, it's really been great talking with you. We're coming up on an hour, and sometimes the show doesn't go that long, and I sort of strung it out as far as I could without taxing the audience, because some people just don't want to be engaged for a long period of time. But hopefully this will be the first of many visits that we have together as you guys continue to grow Underground Studios and all your other activities. It'd be great to follow your success and see how things grow and develop. But really, thank you so much for making the time to come on the show today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. I love this restream. I've never seen this before either. This is a really good website.
Yeah. I mean, it is a nice platform, and this is being live streamed not just to the regular places, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, but it's also on DLive, it's on Twitch, and it's on 2 or 3 others. So it's going out to 7 platforms total. And like on Facebook, it's on both my profile, but it's also on a group that I have on Facebook. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really a neat little tool. So if you guys will hang tight for just a minute while I wrap up the show, and then we can just talk offline for a moment. So folks, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, especially the live viewers. I got to give a shout out to Lamin, who tunes in all the way from Africa. That's how far your reach is going. Lamin is my buddy. He rarely misses a show, so it's always good to see you. Thanks for your comment there.
Thank you.
Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time is my every other week show, Jiggers' Place. We're going to sit back and have a cocktail and talk about all the non-business related aspects of life. The topic for tomorrow is how can we rebuild societal institutions? I don't think anybody would disagree with the statement that trust in societal institutions is at an all-time low, and I think that's not a good thing. We need to be able to trust ourselves. Trust each other, and we need to be able to come together and as a community and have a sense that we're all in this together. So, but a topic like that is best discussed over a cocktail, so we don't get too boisterous. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow again at 5 p.m. Pacific time at Jiggers' Place, which you guys, Jiggers' Place is my home bar. So
okay, nice.
Got it. And then next week on Monday at 10 a.m. is my show, Trusts and Estates Weekly. And Tuesday at 10 a.m., these are all Pacific time, of course, is my show, Business Lessons from the Military. And then a week from today, we'll be back for the next edition of People Making Money. So one last time, thank you so much to my guests, Andrew, Michael, Gavin, the three brains behind Underground Studios and Underground Mag. And I'll make sure that there are links to their website. So if you want to get more information, you'll be able to contact them. I know that they will love to help you out if you've got a media project in the offing. These are the men to make it happen. So you don't. I can shamelessly plug you guys. I know you're too modest to do it. Part of my job is to shamelessly plug you. So you will not find a better group to work with than Gavin, Michael, and Andrew at Underground Studios. So I unreservedly recommend them to you. So we'll hopefully see you tomorrow afternoon. And signing off as I always do, Marie, darling, you are my belle. You know you are. Courage at all times.